I watched 2 million people call me a monster in real time, while my girlfriend sobbed next to me on our couch, her perfectly framed tears falling exactly where her ring light caught them best. That's when I knew this wasn't just a betrayal. This was her business model, and I had all the receipts to burn it down. It was a Tuesday evening in October when I first noticed something was off. I'd just gotten home from my accounting job. Nothing glamorous, just stable work that paid the bills and let me live my life quietly. The apartment smelled like vanilla candles, which was strange because Mia only lit those when she was filming content. I heard her voice from the bedroom, that particular tone she used for her followers, slightly higher, more animated than her real voice. I don't know how much longer I can do this, you guys, she was saying. It's getting really hard at home. I paused in the hallway, keys still in hand. We'd had breakfast together that morning. She'd kissed me goodbye, told me she loved me, everything had been fine. He doesn't understand what it's like to build something like this, her voice continued. Sometimes I feel so alone, even when he's right here. I stood frozen, listening to my girlfriend of 3 years tell 500,000 strangers about problems I didn't know we had. This wasn't the first time I'd overheard her dramatizing our relationship for content, but something in her voice was different this time, more committed to whatever narrative she was spinning. I cleared my throat and walked into the bedroom. The transformation was instant. Mia's tearful expression vanished, replaced by a bright smile as she turned the phone toward me. "Oh hey, guys, this is him. Say hi." I waved awkwardly, hating every second of this invasion. I'd never wanted to be part of her social media life. That had been our agreement from the beginning. Her online presence was her business. My privacy was non-negotiable. She'd promised, repeatedly. "Just got home," I said, backing out of the frame. "I'll let you finish." Her smile tightened just slightly. "We were just talking about weekend plans. I'll be done in 5. Later that night, while Mia was in the shower, I checked her Instagram, and the story was still up. Opening up about relationship struggles. Sometimes the person you love just doesn't see you. 60,000 views already. I scrolled through the comments. "You deserve better, girl. Men never understand the hustle. Is this the same boyfriend who didn't want to be in your Valentine's post?" I put the phone down, a cold feeling settling in my stomach. This wasn't just sharing her life. She was crafting a story, and apparently, I was being cast as the villain. Over the next few weeks, I started paying closer attention. Mia's content had shifted. What had once been fashion hauls and makeup tutorials was increasingly personal, increasingly about us, or rather, about a version of us I didn't recognize. "Another night alone while he's working late?" She captioned a photo of herself looking sadly at a dinner for one. I had texted her that I had a client emergency. She'd replied with a thumbs up and no problem. When you find his messages to another girl, accompanied a TikTok of her crying to some trending heartbreak song. There were no other girls, never had been. The comments were flooded with support for her, hatred for me. This fictional version of me that was apparently ruining her life. Her follower count was climbing rapidly. Brands were reaching out for partnerships centered around self-love and knowing your worth. I confronted her one night after she posted a video heavily implying I had anger issues. "What is all this, Mia? None of this is true." She looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Calculating, almost cold. "It's just content, babe. Nobody thinks it's literally you. I don't even use your name." "Your followers are sending me hate messages. They found my private Instagram somehow." She shrugged, not quite meeting my eyes. "I can't control what they do, but this vulnerability narrative is really connecting. My engagement is up 340% this month." "Vulnerability narrative? Is that what you call lying about me?" She finally looked at me directly, annoyed. "Look, I've worked too hard building this brand to stay stagnant. The algorithm rewards drama and emotional content. It's just business." "Our relationship is not your business model," I said quietly. "Maybe you just don't understand the industry," she replied, turning back to her phone. "My agent says I could double my following by summer if I stay on this track." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the agent comment. Mia had signed with a talent management agency 2 months ago, but she hadn't mentioned them pushing for more personal content. While she slept, I did something I'd never done before. I checked her email on the tablet we shared for watching movies. There it was, a whole strategy laid out by her management team. The relationship conflict narrative is gold, audiences are heavily engaged, recommend escalating over next 8 to 10 weeks. Consider a temporary breakup arc leading into the Skin Glow partnership launch. Their renewal campaign theme aligns perfectly with a finding yourself after heartbreak story. Attached was a content calendar with planned incidents and emotional revelations scheduled around product launches and sponsorship deals. My stomach turned as I read the dollar figures attached to each phase of exploiting our relationship, or rather, destroying it for profit. I forwarded everything to myself, then deleted the sent email from her outbox. I wasn't ready to confront her yet. I needed to understand how deep this went. The next day, I called in sick to work and did a deep dive into Mia's content across all platforms. I downloaded everything, took screenshots of comments where she confirmed false details about our relationship. I recorded her stories before they disappeared after 24 hours. The pattern was undeniable. For 3 months, she had been systematically constructing a narrative where she was the devoted, hardworking girlfriend, and I was increasingly positioned as controlling, possibly unfaithful, and emotionally unavailable. The more villainous I became in her stories, the more her audience grew, and the more lucrative her brand partnerships became. I found a draft contract for $175,000, more money than I made in 2 years at my accounting job, for an exclusivity deal with a beauty brand built entirely around her journey to rediscovering herself after the relationship they were instructing her to end publicly. That night, when she came home, I was sitting on the couch, staring at the framed photo of us from our trip to Costa Rica last year. Real smiles, real happiness. Before her follower count hit 6 figures and everything changed. "Hey," she said cautiously, noticing my expression. "Everything okay?" "I think we need to talk about your content, Mia." She sighed dramatically, dropping her designer bag on the counter. "Not this again. I told you, it's just stories for entertainment. Nobody takes it seriously. Your agent seems to take it pretty seriously. So do the brands paying you to leave me?" Her head snapped up, eyes narrowing. "You went through my emails? You turned our relationship into content without my consent. You forfeited privacy concerns." She switched tactics immediately, tears filling her eyes as she sat beside me. "Baby, I'm sorry if you feel hurt, but this is my career. Do you know how hard it is for women to succeed in this space? I have to use everything available to me." "Including lying about me being abusive? Unfaithful?" "I never used those words," she said carefully. "You heavily implied them, and you know it. Your followers are calling me an abuser in your comments, and you're liking their posts." She reached for my hand. I moved it away. "What do you want me to do?" she asked, a hint of irritation breaking through her perfect contrition. "Post a retraction? Say I made it all up for views? I'd lose everything. Maybe you should have thought about that before monetizing our destruction." She stood up, facade dropping completely. "You know what? Maybe there's truth in the content after all. You are unsupportive. You don't care about my dreams. You'd rather I stay small so you can feel big?" I looked at this stranger wearing my girlfriend's face and felt strangely calm. "I'm going to stay with my brother for a while. I think we both know where this is headed." As I packed a bag, she followed me around the apartment, her phone casually held at her side. I realized she was recording, probably hoping I'd explode, give her the angry boyfriend footage her narrative needed. "Are you serious right now?" I asked, pointing at the phone. "What? I'm not doing anything," she said, quickly putting it in her pocket. I zipped my bag closed. "I hope it's worth it, Mia. I really do." As I reached the door, she called out, voice suddenly thick with tears. "So you're just leaving? After everything?" I turned back. Her phone was up now, openly recording, perfectly capturing her tears. "For the record," I said calmly, "I know you're filming, and I know about the skin glow deal that depends on you being dramatically single by next month. I hope your followers enjoy the show." Her expression flickered between shock and calculation before settling on righteous indignation. "You'll regret this," she said quietly. "Nobody will believe your side after what I post tonight." She was right about one thing. That night, from my brother's couch, I watched her most raw, emotional video yet. Makeup strategically smudged, voice breaking at perfect intervals. She told her now followers how I had finally shown my true colors, accused her of using him for content, and abandoned her without warning. "I've been hiding how bad things were because I was ashamed," she sobbed into the camera. "But I can't protect someone who hurt me anymore." The comments flooded in by the thousands. People demanding my full name, my workplace. Some threatened violence. Brands commented with heart emojis and "We stand with you" platitudes. Her management agency posted, "Your strength inspires us all. Call us tomorrow. We'll get through this together." My phone exploded with messages from mutual friends, most assuming her version was true. Only my closest friends reached out to check my side of the story. The narrative had been so carefully constructed over months that her final portrayal of me as the villain seemed inevitable, believable. Over the next 2 weeks, Mia's following exploded to over 1 million. She appeared on 3 podcasts discussing recognizing emotional manipulation and escaping toxic relationships. She never used my name, but shared enough details that several people from my office connected the dots. The Skin Glow deal was publicly announced. Her face on a renewal campaign about fresh starts and rediscovering yourself. $200,000 for 6 months of posts about how their products were helping her heal from the trauma of us. Meanwhile, I stayed silent. I went to work, endured the whispers, ignored the occasional hate message from her followers, and I prepared. I compiled everything. Screenshots of her content calendar from the management agency, the emails planning the strategic destruction of our relationship for engagement, recordings of her admitting to exaggerating for content, side-by-side comparisons of what she claimed versus the reality documented in our text history. I consulted a lawyer about defamation. I spoke with a friend who worked in PR. I reached out to 3 people who had previously dated influencers from her management agency and discovered identical patterns. Relationships weaponized for content, partners demonized, perfectly timed heartbreak, coinciding with major brand deals. Then I waited for the right moment. It came sooner than expected. Skin Glow announced a major launch event, a live stream panel discussion featuring their campaign ambassadors discussing authenticity and renewal at their flagship store. Mia would be the headline speaker, sharing her journey from relationship darkness to self-rediscovery. 2 days before the event, I emailed Skin Glow's PR department with a portion of my evidence. In a simple message, before your brand becomes further associated with a manufactured narrative, you might want to review these materials regarding your new ambassador's business practices. I received no response, but noticed their social media suddenly went quiet about the event. The morning of the live stream, I dressed carefully in my most professional suit and took a day off work. I didn't have a formal invitation, but the event had been promoted as open to the public, with the panel discussion being streamed to Mia's followers. The flagship store was packed when I arrived. A small stage had been set up with 5 chairs. Mia's in the center with her name displayed prominently. She hadn't seen me yet, busy taking selfies with fans and chatting with the other panelists. She looked radiant, completely in her element, soaking in the adoration of strangers who thought they knew her story, my story. I took a seat in the back row as the Skin Glow marketing director welcomed everyone. I noticed her glancing nervously toward the side of the room where 2 men in suits were having an intense, whispered conversation. The panel began with each ambassador sharing their renewal journey. When it was Mia's turn, she launched into the now familiar story of her relationship with an unsupportive partner who couldn't handle her success, how she'd hidden the truth to protect him, how leaving had freed her to fully embrace her authentic self. Sometimes, the people closest to you are the ones holding you back from your true potential, she said, her practiced vulnerability on full display. You have to be brave enough to choose yourself. The audience murmured supportively. The moderator nodded sympathetically before asking, "And how has Skin Glow been part of that journey for you?" Before Mia could answer, one of the suited men approached the stage and whispered something to the marketing director, who visibly paled. She nodded and cleared her throat. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a brief 15-minute intermission. Please enjoy complimentary samples at the back of the store." Confusion rippled through the crowd. Mia looked alarmed as she was quickly ushered backstage. I stayed in my seat, watching the chaos unfold. 10 minutes later, the marketing director returned alone to the stage. The live stream, I noticed, had been paused. "Thank you for your patience," she announced. "Due to unforeseen circumstances, we're modifying today's program. We will continue with our panel discussing skin health and renewal featuring our dermatologist and product development team. Ms. Reynolds will not be rejoining us today." The crowd buzzed with confusion. Someone shouted, "Where's Mia?" "Ms. Reynolds has had to step away for personal reasons," the director said firmly. "Skin Glow is committed to authentic partnerships and transparency, values we take very seriously. We will be reevaluating certain aspects of our ambassador program moving forward." I slipped out during the commotion and found a coffee shop across the street. Within an hour, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "What did you do?" It was Mia. I didn't respond. Instead, I watched as she went live on Instagram from what looked like a hotel room, mascara strategically smudged beneath her eyes. "You guys, I don't even know how to process what just happened," she began, voice trembling. "Skin Glow just blindsided me, pulling me from the panel with no explanation. After everything I've shared, everything I've been through to be treated this way. The comments flooded in with support and outrage on her behalf. But then, something unexpected happened. Someone commented, "Skin Glow says they have evidence your breakup story was planned for content. Is that true?" I watched her face flicker with panic before she composed herself. "That's absolutely ridiculous. Who would make up trauma for content? My experiences were real and valid." More comments appeared asking similar questions. Someone had leaked something. Not me, but perhaps someone at Skin Glow trying to get ahead of the story. Mia ended the live stream abruptly, promising to address these absurd accusations after she'd had time to collect herself. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. "Mia, what did you send them?" she demanded when I answered. "The truth," I said simply. "They're canceling my contract. Do you have any idea how much money you just cost me?" "About $200,000, according to the deal memo where you agreed to exploit our breakup for their campaign." Silence on her end. Then, "You had no right to interfere with my career. You had no right to destroy my reputation for your engagement rates." She switched tactics, her voice softening. "Look, we can fix this. Tell them you made it all up because you were jealous. I'll say I forgive you. We can even get back together if that's what you want." "I don't want anything from you, Mia. I just want the lies to stop." "They're not going to believe you over me," she hissed, mask dropping again. "I have 1 million followers. You're nobody." "That's where you're wrong," I said quietly. "I'm not nobody. I'm the person with all the receipts." I hung up and opened my laptop. I had created a simple website containing a factual timeline supported by screenshots, recordings, and emails. No emotional accusations, just evidence presented chronologically, showing how our relationship had been systematically exploited and falsified for profit. I posted the link to my private social media with a short statement. For those who have asked for my side of the story regarding Mia Reynolds' content about our relationship, I won't be commenting further. I didn't need to. Within hours, the link had spread through mutual friends to wider social circles. Drama channels picked it up. Commentary videos began appearing, analyzing the evidence. Content victims started trending as other people came forward with similar experiences of being villainized by influencer partners. Mia's carefully constructed narrative collapsed within days. Her management agency dropped her, citing breach of ethical guidelines. 3 other brands paused their partnerships pending review of recent developments. Her follower count plummeted as people realized they'd been manipulated. She tried damage control, first denying everything, then claiming the emails were taken out of context, then posting a tearful apology claiming she'd been pressured by her management. Nothing stuck. The evidence was too clear, too damning. A week later, she posted a final video announcing she was taking a break from social media to reflect and heal. The comments were closed. As for me, I declined all interview requests and podcast invitations. I had never wanted to be a public figure, and I didn't want to become famous for being victimized. I just wanted my reputation and my privacy back. Gradually, the furor died down. I moved to a new apartment, changed my social media handles, and focused on rebuilding my life. The occasional person still recognized me. "Aren't you that guy from the influencer scandal?" But those instances became increasingly rare. 6 months later, I was having coffee at my favorite local shop when my phone buzzed with a news alert. Influencer management agency under investigation for predatory practices. The article detailed how multiple content creators had come forward with evidence that the agency systematically encouraged them to manufacture personal drama, particularly relationship conflicts, to boost engagement metrics for brand deals. Maya was mentioned as a former client, but was not among those filing complaints. According to a brief statement, she had left the industry entirely and was now working at her family's business in another state. I put my phone down and looked around at the coffee shop. No one was filming. No one was performing sadness for strangers on the internet. Just people living their actual lives, having actual conversations, experiencing genuine moments without considering their monetary value or engagement potential. I picked up my coffee cup, the same plain blue mug I'd been drinking from at home the night I discovered Mia's content calendar planning our destruction. I'd bought an identical one after moving, a strange reminder of the moment everything changed. But now, it was just a coffee cup again, and I was just a person again, not a character in someone else's story. I took a sip and smiled. It tasted like freedom,